Good morning. Today is April 8th, 2023. And today what we're going to do is we're going to prune this here Tibouchina tree. Tibouchina is the botanical name, but it's also known as a common name as a princess flower tree. And as you can see, the tree looks pretty much half dead, but it's not half dead, it's just how it grows. It doesn't like the cold winters, and in the cold winters it can drop all its leaves, and then you have some flowering that happens during early winter, and then it looks like this. So if you get closer, you'll notice that there's already new growth starting to come out of these nodes here. You can see these little red little leaf starting to poke out. So what I want to do is I want to contain the shape. So in order to contain the shape, I want to bring it down. I want to cut it down to where I want to kind of keep it at. So my rule of thumb is, if you want to keep it at, let's say, this height when it's flowering, then what you want to do is you want to bring it 6 to 8 inches down further than where you want it to flower. So that way when you cut it here, all the new growth will develop, and then the flower buds will actually bloom where you want them to bloom. So I always say 6 to 8 inches of where you want it to bloom, either pushed in or pushed down, whatever you want. So I'm going to take this guy down all the way around, and then anything that I see that is completely dead, then I'll take that out as well. As you can see, the tree took it down, brought it down to about that size. I want to contain it. I don't want to let it get too big. If I didn't cut it down from up there, by the time it came back, it'd eventually get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I didn't want to get it that big. So cutting it down to contain the size. And this is when you want to contain the size, is once it's done blooming and right before it's going to start to grow. And it starts to grow back in the spring. So what I did too is I actually saved a branch of what I cut, so that way I can show you these nodes. I want to see if you can see them in the video. So you can see these little red leaves that are starting to pop out. So if I didn't cut it down, what would happen eventually is that all these little parts will grow out, and then everything will kind of fill in. And you can see it kind of going all the way up. These little leaves here, all the way through. You can see it. So with this plant though, it likes to be what they call tipped. So let's just say you wanted to let it keep growing bigger and wider, then what you would do is you would come in and basically just tip it. So you're just giving it a haircut. So instead of taking it down like I did, you would just, tip it here, there, take out anything that's dead between the middle. You'll know what's dead. It looks a little grayer. Tip that, tip it here, tip it here, tip it there, and then what you have is you have a branch like this. But what happens is that when the plant gets pruned this way, it'll, instead of it focusing on keeping what we took off alive, it'll now focus on pushing out all this new growth that's coming in. So that's also a way to prune these. Tip the princess flower, the Tibouchina, tip them. That's what they like to be done to them, but tipping them, and then they'll grow nice and big. And then this guy will be back in about a month, easy, and I'll have a full tree, beautiful blooms, and I'll show you a close-up on what I left so you can see the leaves on that. So if you can see here, you can see these little red leaves starting to pop up. So if you take a closer look at these branches here, they're starting to shoot out from there. So you can barely see them right there. See at the top. So that's what you want to keep. Anything that's dead, just take it out. And this is what it looks like when I'm done with it, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's completely back in action.